Great. Well, good afternoon, and thanks to everyone who has joined. I'm going to give a quick caveat that I am so lucky to have gotten a cold this week, so my voice is a little shaky, but I will try to make sure I can get through everything as best I can. I'm Shannon O'Neill, and I'm your facilitator. I am with the Office of Special Education Programs on the monitoring and state improvement side. And I work with at least one state who has a stellar SPDIG and does lots of great work with that. So excited to be helping with today's presentation. So this is a 15-15 session. And the first 15 minutes will be for our presenter, who will be introducing herself in just a minute, to share a resource. Our session is on concrete. So what you'll want to do is listen to specific things that you can take away and implement in your SPDIG project. She'll share resources and stories and some examples. After those 15 minutes, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions about the resources that are shared. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to our presenter, Melanie Upright.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And somehow I had found myself in the wrong room, so I'm glad to be here and not holding everyone up. So let me go ahead and get my screen shared. I am Melanie Upright. I am a project director with Johns Hopkins University, and I lead the Dynamic Impact Project. This work is really exciting for me to share with you, and 15 minutes is certainly not enough time for me to unpack all of what this work is, but within the time frame that we have, and in trying to do justice to the work that many researchers over years have put into creating this through Johns Hopkins University Center for Technology and Education, I am going to bring to you a quick overview of what the dynamic impact approach is, the TAPIT continuous improvement cycle, and then also this is where that tool comes in. What can you take away today? We're going to examine key concepts of the United Protocol as a strategy for building high performance teams that promote implementation of evidence-based practices with fidelity. You know, the work of SPDIG is really powerful work. And those of you who've already been engaged in a SPDIG, I suspect you already know that. For me, I first became aware of the power of high performance teaming as a district leader implementing the work of SPDIG in my state. And it was really an exciting opportunity to learn new ways of supporting the best practices that we were bringing into the classrooms. And so we were, of course, just like all SPDIG grants, focusing on improving results for children with disabilities. And in that, the work that you see when you look at the grants and when you're moving to implement all of the good things, you are hearing how important it is to have implementation teams. And you hear that stakeholder engagement, authentic, real stakeholder engagement, is something that we know when we can create the conditions to facilitate that it changes the outcomes in terms of implementing our best practices. The implementation fidelity being that focal point, and then really, after you put all of this work into your SPDIG, then you're thinking, how do I sustain that work? How do I make sure that when we're done and we pull away, that the districts that we're supporting are able to sustain and keep this work going? Well, in my work currently in supporting schools implementing best practices such as the early learning assessment for which is a formative assessment tool, or routine-based interview, the routines-based model in the infants and toddlers program, or doing school improvement supporting, working with teams to look through and sift through all their data, and then to identify how do they make a plan to move forward. The key aspect of what really transforms their success, what happens is the high performance team is the game changer. So this dynamic impact, it basically is built around high performance teams, simple protocols, and a focus on fidelity. Inside that, you learn that we are or this work is a team directed continuous improvement. And it's easy to like say those words, but the meaning behind it is really where the complexity comes in. You know, you're hearing from districts, teachers are overwhelmed, they can't do one more thing. And they're actually, a lot of times they look at the work that they have to do as one more thing. And so the critical question that we have when we're looking to help, when we're looking to bring ideas and ways of helping them to realize the potential and the results that they want when they choose those evidence-based programs, you know, what we are looking for is a way to bring it in that hospitable light, right? Where we don't want our teachers to feel crushed by the solutions that we're finding for them. And so the team-based work is really that avenue, the mechanism that can create the collaboration, a true collaboration to emerge. So just one last thing about dynamic impact, and then we're going to go directly into what is the team-based model that we work with. The 3 protocols built into the dynamic impact process streamline the work around continuous improvement. And by using these protocols and checklists, we're able to help teams walk through the process of making these small iterative changes through cycles that ultimately result in measurable changes. So it's an exciting process. In team, they work with the United protocol. In the analyze stage, they work with the root protocol to help them with data analysis. And then in plan, implement, track, they're engaging with the change protocol. And so over time, what you see happening is they begin to understand the systematic process of what continuous improvement is. So the first step then, every cycle of continuous improvement begins with team. And we all are familiar with sitting on teams that are less than successful at helping to drive or move an initiative forward, right? And most likely what you experienced was more like a pseudo group or a traditional group. But a high performance team is something very different than simply bringing people together to look at data. A high performance team is specially designed to actually change the level of perceived accountability so that we move from this sense of it's just me, or it's just, you know, we're just coming together, but I'm not really engaged in the work. It changes that into something where we're all committed to the work. We become productive and accountable as individuals and as a whole team, and we engage in self-monitoring. So knowing this about the research, that the research tells us there's really a difference in the types of groups that we get exposed to in education and across industry, honestly. What JHU has done, and Dr. Mainzer and her work, is to take that and then to create a set of high performance teaming principles out of the research literature that says when teams have been successful, have operated at the highest level, what was present in those teams? Well, we know things like positive interdependence, individual accountability, teams that are performance monitoring, and not just performance monitoring as it relates to student outcome data, but certainly we're talking about implementation data. But really, this is about team and about how do we show up as members of a team? Are we committed to the process of change? Engaging with momentum, collaborative competence, technology optimization. I'm working with a team right now who they keep choosing technology optimization as an area that they want to grow in. And the conversations and the excitement that they share, because this is a scary area for a lot of educators, individuals who are maybe my age, who say, I'm okay with technology, just don't ask me to do anything new. this piece is really hard. And we know that the whole world of education is changing in such a way where we have to have this capacity to manage technology. So the team is now coming together to say, we're going to help all of us grow and advance in technology optimization so that we can meet our goals. Really cool stuff. So the United Protocol then is composed of 6 clear-cut steps, to advance high-performance teaming. Each letter in the protocol prompts the team members to take a critical step towards becoming a smoothly functioning team. So U is unveiling beliefs, vision, and mission. We give them time to come together around their beliefs, to have that shared vision and mission. It's critical. Then they engage in naming team operating standards. We give them a starting point and we say, we know that teams that operate at high performance levels have these standards, like completing activities on time, offering help willingly, respecting each other, listening actively to understand. But you as a team of unique and individual members might recognize that there's a operating standard that you need to add. For me, in the SPDIG grant and my team, we added that we needed to engage regularly in online email communications, that we knew we were falling short there. And so we added a special operating standard just for us. Then we identify high performance teaming principles. Teams unpack these to understand, well, what does this look like, sound like, and feel like to engage with a high performance teaming principle. From there, they move into targeting a team goal. Now, they will do this team goal and select this team goal based on rating themselves in terms of where do they see themselves currently implementing high performance teaming principles and these team operating standards. So they're using these concepts to then develop a goal. And you'll notice that Johns Hopkins University Center for Technology and Education has decided that the SMART goal formula is great, but there is a piece, and what we've seen over time is that making an achievable goal is not necessarily good enough to get you to the place you want to go. You also have to have an ambitious goal. So we have SMART goals to the second power. We also then, in this T, target roles. So team members rotate roles. They're going to assign themselves as facilitator, coach, timekeeper, recorder, and these are active roles that have actual work that they engage in every single month. So monthly, they rotate so that by the end of your time implementing dynamic impact, or in this case, just using the United Protocol, you're going to have a team that doesn't just rely on one superstar. You're going to have built the capacity of the entire team to run those meetings and to be accountable for the work. Very exciting stuff. Then they establish a team identity. They do this through using a system that we've identified to walk through creating that team identity. Finally, the D, determine team logistics. This is really key, right? A lot of times teams stumble because they have not really defined out what is the way we're going to work. Who's going to attend the meetings? Where are they going to be? What are the dates we're going to do it in the time? What are other factors that we have to remember about the logistics here? So as I close, related to the United Protocol, it is one of the levers for change. And so what we know is that if your teams are stumbling, and I can guarantee you they are, and only because I have been there, to try to implement across multiple schools, across multiple individuals with a variety of strengths in evidence-based practice. And it's very hard work. But when you utilize a high-performance team, you create these communication channels that allows the knowledge base of one individual to be shared authentically and for the purpose that we've all come together in our vision and mission to agree around. It's exciting stuff, but it is only one lever, right? because we know that data analysis is tricky. So root cause analysis, having a systematic way of tackling it so that you know what you're looking at, you can synthesize your data, identify not just the root causes, but identify those commonalities that help point us in the highly likely space for us to be able to make a change. That's the root protocol. And then from there, it's the continuous improvement for impact in the change protocol. The work around what happens between cycle meetings, there's a lot of systematic work that can be brought to it that streamlines how should you engage so that you're effectively, efficiently managing your time. We don't want teams coming together, getting lost, getting sidetracked, wasting time. They don't have to do that if they have a process. And so that's what this work does for them in the change protocol. So that is the TAP-IT continuous improvement cycle. From here, I just want to add one last little piece, and just to tell you that the work that we're doing in our Dynamic Impact Implementation Academy and our leadership academies, it is universally, I just want to tell you the excitement of the teachers that do this work and how they talk about the United Protocol and the way that it has allowed them to talk about challenging subjects with their teams that they never could do before, because it just wasn't on the table, right? When people don't show up on time, are you really allowed to hold people accountable? Well, in a model like this, you can. And not only that, we all agree that we're holding each other accountable. So my information and contact information is here. If you want to know more, like on an individual level, just let me know. We'd be happy to help you out there. So Shannon, that is my 15. I hope I did it okay.
Yes, great. I know it was a little fast. It's okay. So now what we'll do is open it up for any of you to ask questions, or if you want to go a little deeper into any of the aspects of the protocol that she shared, then now is your chance. And you can just come off mute, use the chat, whatever you're comfortable with.
Take us back to the United. So if anyone wants to ask any questions about any components. And I'd love to hear if anyone else has explored high performance teaming before and, could talk to their experiences with it.
Or if you have any questions about how it could be used with your project, now's your chance. Oh, here we go. Okay. How do you ensure fidelity in your teaming model? Great question.
Yeah, absolutely. So the work is all focused on fidelity. And so the United Protocol creates the conditions for us to move forward with the actual change work. In the root cause analysis, the root protocol, we, of course, do that data analysis that then allows us to identify our focus areas. Our focus areas are then translated into goals. So teams will develop a student outcome goal or a child outcome goal for the year, an annual, and an implementation goal. They also, of course, have developed a team performance goal. So they end up with 3 goals for the year. They have 3 goals for the cycle, and then they engage in the cycle. Most of our districts that we help are doing 3 cycles. Occasionally, we find that a 2-cycle rotation is what is able to be accommodated, but typically we recommend a 3-cycle rotation. And so they build their cycle goals to be incremental. And then after they've identified their goals, they work together to develop their action plan. Their action plan details not just what is needed for students, but it details what's needed for the teachers. This is where stakeholder engagement and what are the actions we would take to engage with our stakeholders at the informing level, at the networking level, at the collaborating level, right? So we have the opportunity to specify, and it's not just the opportunity, that's what the work is, the action steps for every cycle. And then we also develop a data collection plan for every cycle, because what we know is that throughout the entire cycle, we need to be gathering information to understand how we're doing. And then from there, we come back together and we start the cycle again. We finish with track. I'll go back up here and just show you here. Track is at the end of cycle 1, we evaluate our cycle goals and we determine, did we meet them or not meet them? And then we start back again. We re-engage with United. We re-rate ourselves as members of a team. We go then into the root protocol, looking at data again, and then we set new goals for implementation, student outcome, team performance. And that cycle, it just keeps continuing. And the only other factor here that I haven't talked about yet is the ongoing coaching. So we provide coaching between the cycle monthly. So teams will meet every month, but we meet with the facilitator of that monthly meeting. And what we do is we help them develop their meeting agenda, and we talk them through, what should that meeting sound like? How are you going to engage with your action steps? How are you going to engage with your data collection plan? And what's your teamwork going to be? Because sometimes we're coming together and we're just checking, well, I should say every time, we are checking on the status of our action steps, but really, we also have other work we have to do together where we have to collaborate. We don't always have lots of teamwork, but we usually have some. So that's what we do. We help them look through their action steps, identify the teamwork items, and we work with the facilitators. So I don't know if I answered your question. If you have any follow-ups, let me know.
She said, great, thank you in the chat. And then Jamie also said, thank you for sharing this. They've started using something similar for some of their projects, so find this very interesting. So does anyone else have a question or want to ask something specific about your project? We have about 6 minutes.
Self-rating around your 6 principles, whatever. The team.
A self-rating for the United.
Something like, how do you get them to adhere to the 6 teaming principles?
Oh, right. The high performance teaming principles. Well, so this is a process, and they, over time, you're looking at, certainly it's opening up people's eyes, right? That, wow, we have to work harder at performance monitoring. So what they do is they rate themselves. They look through the looks like, sounds like, feels like criteria, the descriptions that we've provided for them of what it would look like if your team was engaging in performance monitoring. It would look like this, it would sound like this, it would feel like this. So they go through that every single cycle, and then they decide as a team. They have conversation. Are we high performing here? Are we on track? Do we have to target this for improvement? And so what I'm going to tell you is these teams are craving, people are craving the opportunity to authentically, meaningfully engage with each other. And that's what these protocols do. They give us permission to talk about those things that are hard for us to do just on our own, because this work is really, it's that vulnerable work. So we do have some teams that end up saying, we're high performing across all of the standards, all the operating standards, and all of the high performance teaming principles. And we come back and we say to them, this is wonderful that your team is operating at a high level, but every team has a room to grow or improve in some area. So we want you to go back and identify something where you could take it to the next level. And, for just an easy example, technology optimization, you might be doing fine with the online dynamic impact, the workspace that we have. You might be doing fine there, but in translating it into every member of the team actively engaging as a successful recorder, you're not really seeing that. Somebody else is stepping in, they're typing in the document for you. Like we push back on it. We say it's highly unlikely unless you have outcomes, student outcomes that match you as a high performing team, you're not a high performing team, because we know that the two go hand in hand. If you get better here as a high performing team, your outcomes should just keep going up. So we have those conversations, honest conversations using the research. Mhm.
So it sounds like you could also, you do observation to possibly with your coach facilitator. So let me make sure I understand. The team comes together around common goals, like saying increased literacy, and their whole action plan and goals and steps have to do with improved literacy. But
Yes.
you also lay this other layer on top of it where they're constantly self-assessing and kind of caretaking the team at the same time. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes. That's
Okay.
exactly right.
Okay.
And we do this because the research tells us this is what is transformative, right? So while it might not be commonplace in education for teams to really be developed, the research is very clear that teams need to be developed.
Oh, I'm with you. I totally agree.
I know you are.
Really needed. Big fan. Thank you.
100%. And I know that you do, because I feel like this group here, you guys are a highly informed group. So you already really know. But yes, so they are self-rating, they're engaging in this. And the way that I know that they are able to benefit from a little pushing is that we come together with them at these cycle meetings. So, we recommend 2 years of time with us where we're working you through so that you build up to a level of capacity with really being able to implement these protocols independently. Then, if you feel like teams need more support, we have a trainer of trainers that we can, teach you and build your own capacity to keep the work going. But it's the system piece. And so it's not complicated because we really have embraced and leaned heavy in to simple rules, streamlined processes that are accessible to, educators who have not really had opportunities to really learn about continuous improvement. But it does take a little bit of time to get to that place of independence with it. So we get to see them interacting as teams. We support them in their teamwork during our trainings, and then in that coaching, in the coaching with the facilitators.